If you're just getting started with your business, or maybe you've been selling online for a while, you've probably had your friends, family, or random customers asking or expecting discounts from you. As business owners, we put a ton of thought and consideration into how we price our products, right? So it can be super frustrating when customers ask for discounts that don't even exist. Not only that, but it's kind of awkward, right? This is a conversation that no business owner wants to have, and having to say no to a friend or family member especially might be hard to navigate. What do you say without hurting their feelings or potentially losing out on a sale? But you also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot and not make money for your work, right? I know, these are tough questions. That's why today I'm going to give you some tips on what to do when some people ask you for discounts. I'll give you a hint. It's okay to say no, and yes, even to your great Aunt Hilda. Hi, my name is May Park, and I help makers, artists, and designers make a living selling their handmade products online. My business, Tiny Hands, is a handmade jewelry shop, and I have seen pretty much every type of customer you can imagine, from the super thrifty coupon chasers to well-meaning negotiators who might not realize that my prices are pretty set. Well, they are set. So I'm pretty well versed in how to handle these tough but ultimately manageable situations. First things first, let's talk about why someone might want a discount. Many artists assume that if a customer is demanding a discount, it's because they don't value you or your work. Believe me when I say that's not usually the case at all. In fact, many people ask for discounts because they love and value your work, but they can only afford so much. They probably figure, hey, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? But not realizing that in some cases, it actually does hurt a little because now you have to deal with politely turning them down. It's also important to understand that in some cultures, it's a default response to ask for discounts. Like my Chinese mother does this all the time just because she doesn't realize that negotiating isn't the norm everywhere. All this to say, try not to jump to conclusions about your customers or their intent if they ask for discounts. Usually asking for discounts does not mean that the customer is cheap or greedy or unappreciative. They just love your product. They want to support you and are asking for some help to do so. Now, this may not be the case all the time, but I find that I feel a lot better when I'm not assuming the worst of other people. This is already an unpleasant enough experience, right? So let's not make it even more unpleasant. Now, of course, even if your customers have good intentions, that doesn't mean you have to say yes to them, right? Just like some people might not be able to afford your product, you can't afford to sell it for under your established price. And even if you can afford it, which if you follow my pricing formula, which I'll link over here, you absolutely can afford it, but it doesn't mean you should do it. Running a business is expensive, okay? Especially when we're just starting out. You have to spend so much money to get your shop up and running. Sometimes we lose out on shipping alone if the customer lives overseas and we didn't account for the correct shipping cost. So if you do need to say no, please don't feel bad about it, okay? You need to keep your business running first and foremost, and there is no shame in that. I know. Easier said than done, especially when you're like me and you don't want to upset anyone or lose out on a sale. But let's stand in solidarity here and practice saying no, okay? Dealing with discount-seeking customers is really common for new business owners, but just know that it can happen to anyone. Heck, I've even seen people asking for random discounts at Target or Walmart. But I found this happens a lot if you're a handmade business owner. My theory is people think that when they can communicate directly with the business owner themselves, that their probability of getting a discount if they ask for it is much higher. But here's how I would usually respond. On my website, I have a pop-up offering free shipping, right? I'll usually direct customers there if they're looking to save some extra money. I also make it clear that that's the only discount I'm offering at the moment. That way, I can still be helpful and of service by pointing them to some cash savings which appeases them without going out of my way with offering an additional discount than what I was already offering, which appeases me. Having said that, you can definitely consider having a small discount that you can share with your customers, especially if they've met certain criteria like ordering multiple items at once. Now, I get that saying no straight up is a little awkward and could come off as rude. The last thing you want is an online review saying you're unfriendly, right? So if you need help saying no, feel free to follow this script. This has been a big help to me in my years as a business owner, and I find that customers generally respond with understanding. But not only that, but you'll find that if you use the same script every time, it also helps you remove emotion and keeps you from feeling resentful every time this happens. In short, it just makes the whole process as pain-free as possible for you. So here it is. Hi there. Thank you so much for expressing interest in my products. I so appreciate your support. My prices are XYZ. I am currently not offering discounts because of the great deal of effort that goes into making my products. These prices allow me to ensure that you receive the best possible service and are completely happy with your purchase. If you need something that fits a smaller budget, I can recommend ABC. So, why does this message work? It's simple. We are calm, kind, and grateful to our customers while still being assertive and firm about our prices. We restate our rates near the top of the message so they know our prices don't budge. We're also anticipating their arguments and questions ahead of time, right? We let them know why we can't offer a discount. And we don't have to be specific here if we don't want to. And finally, the cherry on top is we offer an alternative solution or other shop that they can buy something similar from. This is polite but firm, grateful but clear and concise, and above all, helpful to them. With this message, you're not letting the customer down entirely because you're offering them another solution if there is one available. I love being able to refer business to other similar shops, and sometimes the customer will even come back to me saying that they prefer my design or my style of product and are willing to pay my full price. I know this messaging can sound really bold, especially since you're potentially turning away a customer or sending them to your competitors. The way I see it, it doesn't do me any good to have a customer who doesn't really appreciate my work. Even if I discount it for them, they're not going to be happy with anything I do, so it's just best for everyone not to even engage in working together because we're just not a good fit, right? And if I was never meant to make a sale from that person, why not send them to a sister shop? Another possible solution is to raise your prices. Sometimes stores with super low prices do attract customers who think they can always bargain with you. When your prices are higher, it automatically sends a signal to customers that you know your worth and your products are of a higher caliber. For example, people don't go to Tiffany's and ask for a discount on an engagement ring, right? But they absolutely do bargain at a thrift store, right? Now, let's flip the script here. There are some cases where you might not want to say no. There are just some situations when offering that discount actually makes sense. If you're tempted to say yes sometimes, I don't want you to feel guilty about that either. Maybe you really like the customer and you feel like you'd love to work with them in the future. Maybe there's a non-monetary benefit to your business, like you can see a friendship forming, or there's an opportunity for a new experience working with new tools or materials that you've never worked with before, but you've always wanted to. Or this is your chance to expand your portfolio, right? Or maybe you're just strapped for sales that moment. Whatever the reason is, just make sure that if you do provide a discount, you tell the client not to tell anyone because you don't want to build a reputation for offering discounts to anyone who asks. That's a good way to damage your business in the long term, and it's hard to take your word back. Plus, it makes that customer feel special that you're doing it just for them. One interesting observation is you'll find that the more you say no, especially to family and friends, the more you're training the people in your lives to know that you don't offer discounts. We rely on our businesses to provide us with an income, right? And just like we wouldn't expect our barber friend to give us a discounted haircut, our friends can't expect us to sell them a product for less than it's worth. And by the way, I also don't do trades or barters, but that's a topic for a whole other day. I know that saying no can feel awkward sometimes, and it's easy to resent customers for asking it in the first place. But if we follow a clear script, make limited exceptions, and we're firm but polite in our reasoning, we can make the experience a whole lot less painful. How do you handle it when your customers ask for discounts? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're waiting for the next video to start, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button if you found this video helpful. And so you can stay up to date on everything you need to know for how to build your handmade business. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in this next video that's just about to start here.